Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Just doing some typing here, trying to get things all buttoned up. You know how we do it. Always last minute. Fun times here on the show. Again, I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. You can find me here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday on the show. On those Wednesdays when I'm not here, Justin Fensterman, meaning tomorrow, Justin Fensterman will be here. Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Every day is about an hour long. We start at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We have guests on Tuesday through Friday. Those guests all come on at about 12:30, about halfway through the show. Hopefully you enjoyed this show here. After you watch a show here, you take a little break, eat some lunch, do some work. And then from 2 to 5 Eastern on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, you listen to the Elite Sports Show with Jeff Mans. That show is 3 hours a week, 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And I'm with Jeff on Wednesdays, which is why I'm not here on Wednesdays. You can follow me Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all those places at the Ray Flowers. Pretty much the first two, Instagram and Twitter, are the ones where I'm really active. But anyway, you can follow me there. Follow my hijinks over on Instagram, not sports related. That stuff is here on the show over at fantasyguru.com and on Twitter X. What are we talking about on the show today? Well, let me throw it up on the old screen. We're going to review Monday Night Football. I have two games, obviously. Buffalo and Atlanta, Chicago, Washington. We'll review those games. What happened, what didn't happen, what do you need to know from those two games? Break down some waiver wire targets here as well. We'll have a huge article, as we do every week, up at fantasyguru.com today. We're in Discord answering questions, all that kind of stuff. We'll go through some scenarios. I'll go through some of the scenarios after reviewing the games on Monday Night Football. And then we'll visit with Armando or Marsal. It's a Tuesday. He's always with us on Tuesday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. So 25, 30 minutes from now, we'll jump in there. We'll talk Daniel Jones. Who is the quarterback in Minnesota? What's going on with the Tampa Bay wide receivers? Which Johnson do you want? We'll talk about that with him. Jordan Whittington, Rashee Rice, Trey Tucker, Josh Downs, TreVeyon Henderson, Mason Taylor, Evan Engram. Some of the topics we'll discuss with Armando Marsal. Don't forget to go to FG. Click the subscribe tab up there in the top. Oh, you can't see where's my hand? There it is. Up in the top right corner of the page. Click on that. Get signed up for the football product, for the seasonal context, for the DFS context, for the wagering context. Get 2 of the 3 products. Get all 3. Go all in platinum VIP status and get everything we do for every sport, every article, every live stream, every Discord room. You can do all kinds of things with us. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Send an email to support@fantasyguru.com if you got any questions. Support@fantasyguru.com. And remember, we're not just doing football. We're doing basketball. Baseball's on a little bit of a hiatus. I'm doing like 1 article a week, but we'll get back into that come January. But we've got basketball going right now, NHL, NASCAR, PGA, MMA, horse racing, soccer. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. For this show, you all know this by now, I'm sure, but there's many ways to listen to the show. A couple of main ways to listen to the show is go to fantasyguru.com, click that Elite Plus tab in the toolbar at the top of the page, Elite Plus, and it brings up all the podcasts on the network, including this show, so you can find a bunch of the old shows there. You can also just go, whether you're on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, they still call it that, YouTube Music, all of those places you can just type in Fantasy Sports Daily and find the show and listen in a podcast form. And then there's 3 places you can watch live or on demand and leave comments and questions live if you're so able to. YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Twitter X @FantasyGuru site, and Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. All right, so let's jump into the first game on Monday Night Football. Buffalo Bills fall to the Falcons 24-14. Oof, there are a lot of teams dealing with injuries. The Bills have injuries on both sides of the football. Ravens have injuries all over the place. The Niners have injuries all over the place. There are a lot of good teams that are really struggling with health right now, but that's the game. And as Jeff Mans was talking about yesterday on the Elite Sports Show, coaching staffs and front office people, you got to build good depth. That's your job, right? You got to prepare the next guy up. That's the job of the coaching staff and the front office. Last night, the Bills weren't able to step up, and I don't know the data, the percentage, and all that. But the Bills, I mean, clearly was everyone's favorite last night. Clearly came into this game with the better roster, clearly came into this game with the expectation of a victory, and they fell to 4-2. They're still fine. They're 4-2, totally in the playoff mixer, but they've lost 2 games in a row now. And Falcons, the Falcons won a football game, and good for them. We'll talk about their team in a second. On the Bills side of things, Cook ran for 87 yards, was very effective there. Wasn't involved as a pass catcher, and that's something that, he's been running for 100 yards and scoring a touchdown every week. James Cook has really benefited as well, though, from catching passes. Didn't catch a pass last night. And this is something that is seemingly happening with more and more frequency with the Bills, and that is not really pushing the offense. And they tend to win these games where they somehow win by 10 points, and you watch the game and you're like, wow, man, Josh Allen just took that game over at some point. But were they ever really in control of the game? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, you look at this game right now. Josh Allen threw the ball 46 times, threw for 394 yards in week 1. Spectacular effort, 40-plus fantasy points. He also ran for 2 touchdowns. That's the guy you drafted as the quarterback 1. While his scoring has been fine, he's only really had 1 down game all year long. Since throwing 46 passes in week 1, 25, 28, 22, 31, 26. He threw 46 passes in week 1. In 5 games since, his high is 31 attempts, and it's the only time he's thrown the ball 30 times. As a result, since week 1, he has 1 game of 250 passing yards. And 4 of those 5 games for Josh Allen, 4 of 5 games since week 1, he's under 215 passing yards. That's tough to get excited about the receiving core as a result. So a guy like Cook is going to see volatility with his receptions there. We also actually saw Ray Davis take on the receiving role last night for the running backs. Ty Johnson had a catch, but Davis had 2 catches, 19 yards, and a touchdown. So Cook was fine with the 87 yards on the ground, 5 yards a carry, but not contributing in the passing game, not scoring. It was a disappointing effort for him. Back to Allen, he had 2 touchdowns, ran for 42 yards. He was fine. But the lack of attempts led to another down effort for the pass catchers. Josh Palmer, first catch, went for 45 yards. He had 2 for 60, got hurt. Khalil Shakir, 3 for 33. Shavers, 3 for 27. Knox had a touchdown. He had 1 catch for 19 yards and a score. So those people that pivoted to him when Kincaid went out, at least you got something. Keon Coleman, 3 for 11. That's it. And I want to say this about the receiving core, because this continues to come up. I continue to see Keon Coleman. Everybody needs to understand who Keon Coleman is right now. And who Keon Coleman is right now is absolutely, without question, 100% somebody you shouldn't be starting, period. What are you doing if you're starting Keon Coleman? I get the question every week, Keon Coleman. 8 catches, 112 yards, and a touchdown in week 1. Since week 1, he has 1 game of 30 yards. Since week 1, he's averaging 6.9 PPR points a game, 5.3 half-point PPR points, 3.7 non-PPR points. Why are you playing Keon Coleman? Why are people making trades for Keon Coleman? Why is Keon Coleman such at the forefront of people's mind? He hasn't done anything since week 1. Nothing. He has 1 4-catch game in 5. He has 1 game of 30 yards in 5, and he has 1 touchdown in 5. He's a nobody. Now, if Palmer misses significant time with his injury, maybe Keon Coleman's role grows. But the fact is, this team doesn't throw the ball a lot. They just don't. They want to run the ball, and they run the ball quite effectively. I mean, look at last night. They ran the ball 6 yards a carry. They run the ball quite effectively. But the passing attack continues to leave a little bit to be desired. And again, I'm just confused by all the Keon Coleman love. It's just, Ethan says it here. Coleman is the name people like for some reason. Yeah, I'm not really sure why. The data simply does not support Keon Coleman being as big a part of our lives as it seems to be. Here we go. Drew JCA says, I had to drop Matthew Golden for Knox because I was in a must-win scenario at 1-4. Okay. Waiver wire should be open so that if something like Kincaid being out of the game with the oblique injury happens, that you have the ability to run to the waiver wire and pick up Loveland or Komet or Knox. Knox was the guy I suggested last night. He was the best option, so that worked out well. However, I got to say, Drew, you shouldn't be able to drop a player that's already played this week. That's spotty. I mean, I guess you then have to make the determination, if the guy was on a bye, that's fine. But if a guy's already played, I wonder how many of you have the opportunity to drop a player, to add a player that's already played. Is that universal? That's not something that normally happens in the leagues I'm in. Maybe it is in the leagues you're in. And there's my vent over my head again because for some reason the system wants to do that. And it makes me look like I'm red faced, like I got a tan yesterday, which I also didn't. The Falcons side of things, 24-14 here. Michael Penix, 250, 1-0. Michael Penix is just a dude. He's just a dude. He's not a QB1. He's shown no signs of being a QB1. He's barely a QB2. He barely scores a touchdown a week. I mean, it's just, there's Drew said he wasn't in my lineup, so let me put him in my lineup. Okay. So he was on your team, but you didn't actually utilize him. He was on your bench, so it allowed you to make the move. That's fair, Drew. That makes sense. Michael Penix. Bleh. Now, this offense, you got a touchdown on the ground from Tyler Algier. He had 10 carries, 30 yards. He scored a touchdown. If you desperately used him, you got it 10 points. Okay. This offense was 2 guys last night. It's 2 guys most nights, and we love seeing this. Ray-Ray McCloud was out. Mooney was out. So this became the Drake London show. 16 of the 32 passes, a 50% target share. 16 of the passes went to London, 10 for 158 and 1. London's got a better than 50. I think he's got a better than 50-50 chance, or about a 50-50 chance. It's going for 100 yards working with Penix going back to last year. 6 for 100, kind of what we're getting a lot of the time with London working with Penix. It's why London's obviously in your lineup all the time. But the more impressive and more dynamic effort last night, as great as London was Bijan Robinson. These 2 guys put up like 390 of the 430 yards that this team had. It was 2 guys. Bijan Robinson, 6 catches for 68 yards. He ran for 170 yards and a touchdown. And if you were going to take a running back in the first round, it's clear that the answer should have been Bijan Robinson. We talked about this a lot in the offseason. I believe he was our number 1 guy to draft as a running back position. I know he was on my board, the number 1 running back, ahead of Barkley and Henry and Christian McCaffrey and every other running back you can mention. A spectacular game last night. Bijan in London, the only games in town, helped out by the injuries to others, and the Falcons won a game 24-14. Next up, Chicago pulls it off the victory 25. Why is my mouse is not working? We're having all kinds of problems with my tech here, and I don't know why. Computer's working fine, internet's working fine. Mouse is not working fine. Anyway, the Bears moved to 3-2. The Commanders fall to 3-2, 25-24. The Bears win this game. Caleb Williams threw for 250 and 1. He also had a rushing touchdown. Fine effort, fantasy-wise. Fine effort, real world. Didn't really do anything. He was fine. The big hitter here was DeAndre Swift. He ran for 108 yards, had 2 catches for 67 yards and a touchdown. As we've talked about on this show repeatedly, as I've talked about in Discord repeatedly, you never bench DeAndre Swift. You play him every game. You can't touch the ball 17 times a week in Johnson's offense and not eventually produce. He eventually produced last night, 170 yards of offense and a touchdown. Hopefully you had him in your lineup. He should always be in your lineup. He's a running back 2 every week. The receiving core now, this is a little interesting. Loveland and Kmet continue to be absolute nobodies. They spent a first-round pick on a tight end that they don't even just – they're paying like $50 million to Kmet. Then they spent a top 10 pick on Loveland, and they don't use either of them. It's just weird scenario. Olamide Zaccheaus led the team in targets with 6. I know we got a lot of talk about him in the preseason about, he looks good and everything. If Olamide Zaccheaus is leading your team in targets in a game, you probably shouldn't win the game. They won the game, so good for them, but still only caught 2 balls there. Mr. Moore went to the hospital after the game. We're not quite sure what's going on there. We'll have to see how much time, if any, he's going to miss, but he had another down game. 3 catches for 42 yards. Rome Odunze didn't score first time this season in 5 games. He didn't have a touchdown. He only had 2 catches for 32 yards. Burden, some people are getting excited about Burden. There were some questions about him yesterday. I've already seen some comments in Discord today. 4 catches for 51 yards looks really good. Until you realize he played 16 snaps and ran 13 routes. So he only ran 2 more routes than his season high. 13 routes there were 35 dropbacks. He ran 13 routes, not even half of them. Played 16 snaps. He was 4th at the wide receiver position in snaps. I said this yesterday. Burden is only someone to really look at if there's an injury. Now, if Moore is out, we got something in Burden, right? If Moore is able to play through it, don't get carried away is the bottom line with Burden. Yeah, it was a nice game. It was best game of the season, or second best game of the season. 4 for 51 yards, though. 9 points, 4 targets. Let's not get carried away there. On the other side of things, Mr. Field Goal, Mr. Moody's kicking field goals, by the way, with no time left. Good job, Mr. Moody. Going to the Commanders. Another one of these games where Chris Rodriguez had 1 snap. I guess partly his calf, partly they've obviously decided JCM is the guy. McNichols has played a lot of third downs. He still only touched the ball 5 times for like 20 yards. What do you have? 5 times for 35 yards. Didn't do anything. JCM was the guy. He had 18 touches. Big number there. 3.6 yards a carry, though. Not good. 17 carries for 61 yards. He didn't get in the end zone. So a disappointing game for the running backs last night against the Bears. Jaden Daniels ran for 52 yards, so that was great. He threw for 3 touchdowns. That was great. Did throw an interception, did have a fumble. Okay. JCM, by the way, had a fumble too. Could have had 2. Chris Moore, 3 catches for 46 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, this team was down. Deebo Samuel, unfortunately, though he played the highest snap share and ran the most routes of the wide receivers, seemed limited last night with the hamstring injury. He only caught 4 balls for 15 yards. Obviously, Terry McLaurin was out of this game as well. Noah Brown. So Chris Moore became a thing. Don't go run to the waiver wire to get Chris Moore despite the touchdown. Luke McCaffrey scored a touchdown. Don't run to the waiver wire for Luke McCaffrey. He got 1 catch yet again on 1 target yet again. He's catching a 30-yard pass every game, and when it's a touchdown, you get 8-9 points. When he doesn't get a touchdown, you get 4 points. So this is an offense that desperately needs Terry McLaurin back. We will hope that it happens this week. We're just in that holding pattern. We just don't know. A lot of players around the NFL. We'll talk about Tampa Bay later with Armando. Their receivers, they're hurt. We just don't know how much time they're going to miss. Zach Ertz stepped up, 6 catches, 43 yards, and a touchdown. Ertz is averaging like 3.5 catches for 32 yards this year. He's not doing anything. The games he scores a touchdowns, he's fine. The game he doesn't score a touchdown, he's a nobody, like so many at the tight end position. John G says, would you prefer Caleb Williams or Fields for the rest of the season? Justin Fields, we talked about on the show yesterday, John. I'll say it this way. I think the answer depends upon your team. And it depends upon your team, because the upside play has been, will be forever Justin Fields. If one of these guys is going for 30 points, it's Justin Fields. If one of these guys is consistently scoring 25 points a week, it's Justin Fields. Now, Justin Fields can also score 9 points in a week, or even worse. He had 5 points last week. So Caleb Williams has a much higher floor. Justin Fields still has a much higher ceiling. So it really comes down to your league depth, your roster composition. Do you have a lot of boom or bust players? Do you have a lot of stability? And I really wish, and this is something I was thinking about this morning, we get all the start 'em sit 'em questions over in the Discord at fantasyguru.com. I would say 1% of people, literally, I'm talking 1 out of 90, 1 out of 100 questions that people ask in the start sit room, someone will actually give depth to the question. Instead of just saying A or B, why don't you say, my team is stable. I've got these 4 guys who score 10 points every week. My opponent, though, has got 4 guys that score 15 points every week. So this week, I think I need a little bit more upper end performance versus the stability of the floor. Do I use A or B? That's the way people should be asking start 'em sit 'em questions. It never happens. The context is never given. It's always just A or B. So, John, that'd be the way I'd answer this. And it's not an answer because I don't know your team, but I would say Williams for the floor, Fields for the ceiling, and make the determination based upon how you want to play this. And also, it's time we are in that bye week season. Remember, obviously, the Bears have had their bye already, so that's something to think about too. Why is my mouse is just free? My computer is. You got this fancy mouse that doesn't work. It's all right. I only paid $100 for my mouse. When did let's see here. The Jets have week 9. So if you want to play at that game too, the Jets have a week 9 bye. The Bears have already had theirs. That's something to think about as well, John. Drew says, my RB room, what do you go with what I got? I got Gibbs, Bucky Irving, and White. Good. You got the combination there. Rico Dowdle and Bill. Do I sell high on Rico or hold on with Gibbs on bye next week? I said this on the show yesterday. I'll repeat it. I don't think that Dowdle takes over this backfield. He clearly has done so much the last 2 weeks that he's going to have a significant role in the offense moving forward. Chuba Hubbard, they gave a 4-year, $32 million contract in the middle of the season last year. He's not vanishing from this offense. Dowdle would be somebody, if I could sell high on, I would be very interested in that. I think he probably settles in the 12, 14 touch zone. They'll probably do something very similar with Hubbard when those 2 guys are going, at least the starters. They kind of feel this out. But yeah, if you could sell high, depending on what the sell high means, I'd be interested in doing that. Okay, let's talk about some of the names there on the list that you see. Waiver wire additions. Kimani Vidal. I know Kimani Vidal. He's like owned in like 30% of Yahoo, ESPN. Like, if you watch this show or you were with us at fantasyguru.com, you picked him up, right? If not, you're not going to pay through the nose. But if you look around at the greater context, there's a lot of leagues where he ain't owned. So Kimani Vidal was great last week. He's got a chance to be the lead guy for about a month. Sounds like we're looking at maybe a 6-week absence for Marion Hampton. So keep that in mind when you go to the bidding process if he is available on your waiver wire. Bam Knight, realize in the case of Bam Knight that he basically played the same amount of snaps as Michael Carter. He basically had the same amount of touches as Michael Carter, that he appears clearly to be the favorite goal line back. He had 4 carries at the goal line to 0 for Carter. He got the rushing touchdown last week. But realize what we saw last week from Knight is kind of what you should be expecting. And if an effort like that doesn't come with a touchdown, it's not even flex worthy, right? So really, Bam Knight, Michael Carter, both these guys are kind of desperation flex options at the moment. That's a reasonable expectation. So, don't get carried away with Knight. He's the lead running back. Don't get carried away with that. There are just limits because Michael Carter is going to significantly be involved as he was last week. Jayden Blue, this is the same story. You can play the handcuff game or not. You already know if you follow the show for any length of time or been with us at fantasyguru.com that we play the handcuff game. Miles Sanders is done, right? As expected. Javonte Williams, is he slowing down? Did he have a rough matchup last week? Jayden Blue shouldn't be on the waiver wire. If you have Javonte Williams and you don't have Jayden Blue, I think you're doing it wrong. Tyjae Spears. Spears was more involved last week than anticipated. The main reason for that was the game score. And that's something to think about with the Titans. I talked about this yesterday. If you missed the show, go check it out, episode 506. The Titans are an utter disaster. An hour after the show yesterday, they fired their head coach. Their offense is straight up pathetic. They might end up in a scenario where Spears plays more snaps than anticipated because their offense is just so bad, they're constantly behind by 14 points. Spears is very difficult to trust. He's not going to take over the early down role with this team. He's not going to take over the lead role with this team. I'd be very, very surprised if that happened with Tony Pollard, like shocked if that happened. So we could be looking at a split based upon game flow and game script. That could happen with Tyjae Spears. But still, 10, 11 touches. If 5 of them are catches, okay. If you're in a PPR setup, okay. But tough to get excited about him, and you don't want to pay because of last week's game because, oh my gosh, it looks like he's taking over the backfield. He's not taking over the backfield with the Titans. Jalen Coker. The Panthers are, feeling pretty good about themselves. They won a football game over the weekend, and things are going in the right direction and all that kind of stuff. This is, their ground attack has been phenomenal the last couple of weeks, right? And they were very good on the ground actually last year. Chuba Hubbard was very good too. But they don't pass the ball effectively. In this season of 6 games played for the Panthers, Bryce Young has thrown the ball for 200 yards, not 300 yards, 200 yards one time. He's 1 for 6 at throwing the ball for 200 yards. That is really, really awful. He's under 6 yards per attempt. That is really, really bad. So while Coker's looking like he's going to return and he easily could become the number 2 receiver in this rotation here with the Panthers, what does that mean? I mean, look at what Legette's done and Renfro's done and Tremaine's done and Horn has done. And the answer is nothing. What's Coker's outlook in this offense? 4 catches, 40 yards, 3 catches, 45 yards. Be careful with Coker. This is just not an offense that's going to produce through the air on a consistent basis. Kayshon Boutte is a very interesting player with the Patriots. Obviously, Boutte had another huge game there. We keep waiting for a little bit more consistency from Stephon Diggs, as we talked about yesterday on the show. Though he went 100 yards, 6 catches, 100 yards in 2 straight games, he fell off a cliff in week 6. One of the main reasons for that is he lost a 50-plus yard catch on a dubious offensive pass interference penalty. The bottom line is Drake May has done such a great job this year that he's just spreading the ball around. I mean, we saw Demario Douglas with a long touchdown the other day. So Boutte is intriguing. Boutte has had 3 touchdowns this season. He's also had 2 games with 5 catches for 95 yards, week 1 and last week. And then you realize the 4 games in between, he had 1 game of 30 yards. And in the 4 games in between, let's pull it up real quick. The 4 games in between weeks 1 and 2, Boutte averaged 1.8 catches for 26 yards. So you run into an area where 5 for 93 and 2 is what everyone's going to see. We got a couple of teams on bye in week 7. People are going to aggressively spend on Boutte. Be very cautious there. He's had 2 games out of 6 with 9 PPR points. Okay. The offense is working great through the air. Drake May's done a great job, but it's impossible to think that Boutte is going to be scoring 16, 17 points a week on a consistent basis in this offense. So be cautious. Malik Washington, I mean, is anyone adding Malik Washington? I mean, I guess. Miami's a mess. We talked about Tua Tagovailoa yesterday. Washington has caught 4 passes each of the last 2 games. Remarkably, he's caught 8 balls for 22 yards. I don't know why they don't throw him the ball more than 5 feet from the line of scrimmage. Yes, they have offensive line problems. Yes, they don't want to get Tua Tagovailoa hit. I understand that. But come on. I watch this and, all Tua Tagovailoa does is he drops back, he takes his drop, he makes a read, he throws the ball. In theory, that's fine, but all he does is float passes all over the field. He just throws balls to open spaces and hope guys catches it. He doesn't ever drive the football. He doesn't really challenge defense. And the fact that they can't utilize Malik Washington, I mean, his yards per target is 2.8. They're utilizing him as a running back. So the hope that Washington would emerge with the injury to Tyreek Hill, it's just not come to fruition. Nothing to get excited about there. Isaiah Bond with Cleveland. Bond is quickly ascending, and he's the number 2 receiver on this team right now. At least he will be until Tillman returns from his hamstring injury. Played 65 snaps in the last game against Pittsburgh. We talked about it yesterday. Gabriel threw over 50 passes, but despite throwing over 50 passes, only threw 5 balls to Bond. And Bond, 6 games into the season, has seen his role grow. His routes run 12, 21, 22, 27, 29, and 30-something yesterday or on the weekend. His role has grown every single week. He also has no scores in one game of 30 yards in an offense that's really kind of broken. Gabriel can't throw to the wide receivers. In theory, Bond could be a thing. He's just not at the moment. A couple of more players to talk about, some tight ends before we talk to Armando and Marsal. Harold Fannin on that same team. We're still waiting for an update on David Njoku and how much time, if any, he is going to miss. With Gabriel coming under center and Gabriel being much like Tua Tagovailoa, throwing everything at the line of scrimmage, we saw 10 targets for Fannin last week, 10. Some of that had to do with throwing 50 passes. Some of that had to do with Njoku obviously missing game action because of injury. He had a great game, 7 for 81. He's another player that you're going to have to pay up for because of the strong effort, 15 PPR points, which is actually the best game of the season for him. Realize that he, prior to the last game, had gone 4 consecutive games doing absolutely nothing. In those 4 games, averaging 3.5 catches for 28 yards. He is the prime example of the tight end that we've talked about. I did the show in like episode 499 or whatever it was, talking about don't stream tight ends. Because, I mean, look at this. 14 PPR points, 10, 6, 5, 11, 15. Like, how many times, if you had Fannin, did you sit him? How many times did you start him? Well, no one had him in week 1. So that game is out of the mix. So since week 1, when he had that strong effort, his second best game of the season, actually, he's averaged 9.2 PPR points a game. How many? 3 of the games, he's at 9.8, 5.5, and 4.5. So 3 of the games, he was either right at or way below his average. 'Tis the nature of the beast here. He's worth adding right now, especially if Njoku is down, because Gabriel can't stretch the field. He will continue to pepper that tight end spot with passes. Cade Otton, we'll talk to Armando Marsal in a few moments here about the Tampa Bay's wide receiver room, which is a disaster. Evans is out with injury. Godwin is out with injury. We don't know how much time Egbuka is going to miss. So we'll talk to him about Shepard and the Johnsons. And Ryan Miller might even make an appearance. Who knows? Cade Otton, the last 2 games, has had to be part of this offense. He actually played every single snap in week 6, which is only the second time a tight end's done that this season, if I'm not mistaken. 4 catches for 50 yards each of the last 2 games. That's great. 10 PPR points each of the last 2 games. That's great. Still only seeing 11 targets. Still only averaging 11 PPR points. It can't get better. I mean, he could score a random touchdown, but it really can't get better than what it's been the last 2 weeks. So be cautious with him because, again, Otton's workload and outlook in this offense, because he was doing nothing. He had 6 catches in 4 games prior to the last 2. His outlook was a nothing burger, but now with the top 3 wideouts down, he's something when the wideouts come back. You know what I'm about to say there. And finally, Chig Okonkwo. This offense is a mess. We talked about it. Ridley's hurt. Van Jefferson was the lead receiver last week. It's amazing. Helm is a tight end people are talking about a little bit. But, Okonkwo has got 4 catches in 4 or 5 games. He hasn't got a touchdown this season. He has gone for 46 yards in 3 of 4 games. If you're desperate and you need 8 points, he might be your guy. Again, I really hesitate to play that game, though, at the tight end position. So there's my review of some of the options you could pick up off the waiver wire. Don't forget to go to fantasyguru.com. We'll have a giant article written by Tyler Beaker up today. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page if you've got any questions about it. Hit us up in Discord. I'll be in Discord. Armando Marsal will be in Discord. The team will be in Discord answering questions. Make sure when you're in Discord, by the way, we have a bunch of different rooms. Make sure you leave your questions in the right room. That's helpful for us as well. Head over to fantasyguru.com. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. You can still get signed up for the football product for the season. Obviously, you can sign up for the DFS or the wagering products as well. If you have any questions, send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. All right, it's a Tuesday. I've hinted at his name. In fact, I haven't hinted at his name. I've said his name multiple times. On Tuesdays, our man Armando Marsal joins us. He brings knowledge, he brings wit, he brings humor, and he brings a great beard that is not gray like mine. Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. How you doing, Armando?
I'm doing good, Ray. I actually do have some grays. You can't really see them too much. Not like you, of course, but still, I do have some grays. I get more and more grays every time. I feel like every time I get a haircut, Ray, like more grays come out. So that's why I take longer to take my haircuts now than I used to. I used to do it every 2 weeks. Now we wait a month, Ray. We wait a month. We don't want these white hairs to come out too much. I got a lot here.
It's really funny. People can tell this with me. I have a lot of testosterone, right? So I went bald. I've got hair all over my body. I'm one of those guys. I hardly have any gray hair on my entire body. Like there's a random hair here, like no, but it's all here. Like it's all like my head is in my family. Everyone goes gray. I'm the only bald one, by the way, but everyone goes gray. But yeah, I almost wish it would all go gray. Because like the brown's kind of hanging on, it kind of looks a little patchy. It's on the video. It looks worse than it does in person, but hey, you are what you are, right? I'm proud to be who I am. So we'll just
as am I, Ray. As am I.
There you go. Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. You can go to FG, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page, find this show and all the previous episodes. You can also find Armando's podcast, Mind of Marsal, there as well. When are those episodes dropping this week, Armando?
Yep, I'll be dropping one this afternoon and Friday afternoon as well. So we'll have 2 this week as usual.
Armando Marsal, always involved at FG, writing articles, answering questions, and helping us out here on the show. Some things to talk about with you. I think the first one I want to talk to you about is Daniel Jones. At this point, he's established himself, Armando, in people's minds as an answer. He's a QB1. It's just the way it is. Boom, book it, start him. Don't worry about it. Are you there? Have you wiped away the last couple years and seen enough with him and the offense with the Colts that you're comfortable saying he's a QB1 the rest of the way?
Yeah, Ray. Someone asked me this past weekend. They asked me between Daniel Jones and someone else. I can't really remember who. And my response was, I view Daniel Jones as an every week starter. He's established himself as that this year. When you look at the production this season, I mean, he's been a top 12 quarterback in 4 of the 6 weeks this year. He currently sits as a top 10 quarterback in both fantasy points per game and fantasy points at the position. And this is one of those situations. I looked at some numbers, man, and if you look at his career in the past, the Giants always were trying to fix the offensive line, and they never were able to succeed at that, right? You look at 2019, he was tied for 9th most sacks. 2020, 4th most sacks. 2021, 29th, but he played in 11 games. In 2022, he was 5th most sacks. 2023, he was tied 18th in just 6 games. He finished on the season tied 18th as far as sacks is concerned. 2024, 19th, 10 games only. When you look at this season, he's been sacked 5 times. He's 35th on the list. He has arguably the best supporting cast he's had. He's a dual threat quarterback, someone who, has been very efficient running this offense. And look, offensive line is good. Rushing attack is good. We have an elite tight end, young tight end, very good receiving group. I mean, he's in a great situation and he's succeeding. So I think this is here to stay. At the beginning of the season, I was skeptical and I was like, all right, I need to see a little bit more. I think I've seen enough where, yes, there's going to be some volatility with him. And I think that could be said about most, if not all, quarterbacks. But I do expect him to, at the end of the season, produce more top 12 numbers on a week-to-week basis than not.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. We got an odd scenario brewing here with the Vikings right now. Coming back off a bye, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be this week. There was the debate about, if both guys are healthy, who starts, Wentz or McCarthy. Now there's a debate about which of the two guys is less hurt. Shoulder issue for Wentz, ankle issue for McCarthy. How you feeling about this offense this week, Armando?
And they got the Eagles on tap. This is not good. I think that if McCarthy is not 100%, which a lot of everything that I've read points towards him not being 100%, I think they're going to continue to roll with Wentz. He's 2-1. He's been pretty efficient running this offense. He's not setting the world on fire by any means with his statistics, but he's been pretty efficient and you're winning games, right? And that's what they want. This is a competitive division. I don't think he's 100% either, but McCarthy is the future here, right? And against the Philadelphia Eagles defense is very good. If your young quarterback is still not there, he wasn't playing with confidence, at the beginning of the season, he wasn't playing good football. This is really not the ideal situation to bring him back, in my opinion. I think they're going to tread cautiously this week. It's just a matter of, you got to monitor news if you're counting on any of these quarterbacks. For me, it's not going to change Justin Jefferson. Whoever's under center, Justin Jefferson's a must start for me. So I'm just monitoring this situation as far as if you're planning on starting any of these quarterbacks in a 2-quarterback league, or if you're in a bind and whatever your situation is, just monitor news. I do expect Wentz would be that guy this week, especially if McCarthy, there's been reports of him not being 100%.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. The big question, which Johnson? Tampa Bay, we don't know when Mike Evans is coming back from his hamstring injury. We haven't gotten any clarity there. We do know that Chris Godwin's not going to play this week. We already heard that news, which is kind of troubling that so early in the week we've already had him rolled out. We're still waiting for the update on Emeka Egbuka and his leg. So it seems very likely, if not probable, that all three of the top 3 receivers for this team with Tampa Bay are not going to play this week. So we've got veteran Sterling Shepard, we've got Tez Johnson, Cameron Johnson, and Ryan Miller. Because don't forget, Jalen McMillan's hurt too. You can make a very legitimate argument that their top 4 wide receivers are all hurt. So what are we doing here? Everyone's asking. Everyone wants to know. It's the right question to ask. My answer is kind of I really don't want to be involved here. I know that the passing offense and Baker Mayfield have been great. But when you start talking about wide receivers 5, 6, 7, 8, there's issues there with them being that low on the depth chart. There's issues with them seeing the field the same way as Mayfield, because it's not like these guys have a lot of game action together. What are you doing with the receiving core of the Bucs as of right now?
So Sterling Shepard would be the guy I would prioritize here from this bunch. He's someone that, he's been on the field there. He's done a lot out of the slot for them. And do I want to start him? Do I want to bank on him? No, I agree with you. I'm on the same page as you. I don't want to bank on any of these guys unless I absolutely have to, right? This means you're dealing with a lot of injuries because there's really only 2 teams on bye. And when you look at the receivers on these teams, you're not relying on a lot of them on a week-to-week basis, so you shouldn't have to go here. This would be more of a DFS play, right, where you're trying to stack the box and trying to figure that out, but not in season-long leagues. I think the one that's going to benefit the most is Cade Otton. We saw this last season with him when both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans were out. The luxury that they had this year was Egbuka, right? Mike Evans and Godwin are out. They still had Egbuka. So for them, they still had that one, top-tier receiver that they could bank on. But we did see it last week, a 26% target share for Cade Otton. And I think he's going to be the one that they lean on the most here. I would be, if there's anyone that's going to, win this week, if Mike Evans doesn't indeed sit out, I do think it's going to be Otton. Then I'm going to go with Shepard. And then I'm going to go with Tez Johnson. That's kind of how I have him ranked. I don't want to rely on them. Like I said, I think there is volatility. I think there is risk here. But again, that would be the 3 guys I would think prioritize the most. I would prioritize the most from a fantasy standpoint if you're targeting this situation.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com joins us every Tuesday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Let's turn things over, to the Rams, Armando. And Puka Nacua, depending upon who you ask, is out for a couple of weeks or day to day. I don't know. We don't know if he's going to play. He's constantly hurt. This is why I didn't push him all draft season. He's been phenomenal, right? But he's always hurt. The next guy up behind Devontae Adams is Jordan Whittington. Jordan Whittington needs to be added off the waiver wire this week because, again, with Puka, is he going to miss this game? Is he going to miss multiple games? Is this going to be something where, on and on? Jordan Whittington, Tutu Atwell's beat up too. He's a little guy. He runs fly routes anyway. So Jordan Whittington is the next guy up in this offense. Talk us through what your thoughts are with him right now.
Yeah, so when you go back to this past weekend, he ran the second most routes on the team. He was the primary slot receiver. We know Puka spends a lot of his time in the slot. I think 40% of his routes run this season have been out of the slot. You look at Whittington last week, tied for second most. And I pulled up some numbers going back to the 2024 season because we did have Nakua out last year as well for a few games. And in those games, Whittington averaged almost 4 more targets per game in those instances. He averaged 40 more yards per game. 3 more receptions per game. Like, he was more involved in the passing game. I think that I agree with you 100%. If he's out there, you go at him. And I feel more comfortable about this situation than I do about the Tampa Bay situation because you actually have information here that's going to be helpful and going to be useful. And I think that when you look at Whittington, I do think his role is going to increase. I'd be surprised if Nakua was out there this upcoming week, if we're being honest. And even if he is, we saw it last week when he was trying to play again. Like, he was inefficient and not effective. Like, it was just kind of, he's going to be someone that's just trying to take away the defense, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to be there, as a decoy. That's if he is out there. I think that's how he's going to be utilized. So I've read a lot of mixed reports like you, and it's a sprained ankle. Like, at the end of the day, it's a sprained ankle. So I am concerned about his availability this upcoming week.
Armando, let's go to the KC side of things. Patrick Mahomes is doing great things. They're not really running the football. He actually leads the team in rushing yards, Patrick Mahomes, crazy as that is. The receiving core, it's Brown, it's Worthy, it's Gray, it's Kelsey. It's all over the place. Rashee Rice is eligible to return this week. Everyone's going to start Rashee Rice, I would assume, if they've been holding on to him. Maybe not, because some people have 4 top 20 wide receivers. I don't know. But I'm comfortable starting him if I have him, right? If he's active on game day, we have to assume he's running the routes and playing the snaps and getting the 8 targets. Is that how you see it, number one? And number two, what are your thoughts with this receiving core? Because obviously when he returns, things change for everybody else.
Yeah, so if you've been holding Rice all this time, this is your coming out party. Then go ahead, start him, enjoy it. I'm starting him in any league that I've had him or held him in. That's without question. I think he's going to become their wide receiver 1. I don't think there's any question about that. I think that, they've been spreading the ball out. We've seen Brown come up big in big moments. We've seen Juju Smith-Schuster have a role. We've seen Worthy have a role. We've seen them lean on Kelsey. They spread the ball around. But I do think that it's, Rice is going to overtake, the majority of the targets here. There's still going to be opportunities for Worthy. There's still going to be opportunities for Brown. There's still going to be opportunities for Juju Smith-Schuster. They're just going to come in different, stages, not as consistent as we've kind of seen in recent weeks. And that's what I'm expecting here. I view Rice as an every week starter. I mean, before he got injured last year, he was playing lights out football. And I think that's here to stay. It's kind of what they've really been missing to take their offense to that very next level. So I think we're going to see a Chiefs offense that we haven't seen in quite some time in the upcoming week. So I'm excited to see it. Like you said, their run game has been nowhere, right? And we talked about it before the season started with Pacheco. Like, we saw it at the end of last year when he returned from the injury. Just did not look like the same guy. And they really don't have a true legitimate guy that they can count on in this backfield. So not surprised to see some of these numbers here, but I'm really excited to watch this offense moving forward because I think Rice is going to add the dynamic that they've been missing early on in the season.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. The dynamic that the Raiders are missing is competent quarterback play at the moment. Smith is not playing well. The offensive line's not doing a good job. Genty's averaging 3 yards a carry. I mean, this offense is not good. They lose Brock Bowers to the knee injury. It sounds like he might miss another game too for the Raiders. Trey Tucker's emerged as the guy in this offense. They've got Jacoby Myers and Geno Smith won't throw him the football. I don't get it. I don't understand, especially with Bowers out. Trey Tucker, some people are excited about Trey Tucker. Even with Trey Tucker being the guy, he's not doing anything. What do we got here with this passing attack highlighted by Trey Tucker with the Raiders?
I'm telling you, Jacoby Myers had a party. He had something at dinner, and he did not invite Geno Smith. There's something going on there,
right?
And he's upset about it, right?
Something.
I'm not. Look, if you want to chase the 8 to 12 points with the maybe 20 points, but also maybe 3 points. Sure, I don't want to do that. I don't think this is a week you need to do that. So yeah, that's kind of how I view him. I view him as a volatile piece in this offense. He's been targeted 6 and 5 times, 4 and 5 receptions the last 2 weeks, 60 plus yards. Sure, but that really doesn't move the needle all that much for me, Ray. I rather go with someone that gives me maybe a more concrete floor and offers just as much upside. I think there's a couple of those guys out there. We've talked about some already.
What about Josh Downs? If we switch back to the Colts team that we talked about, he's caught 6 balls each of the last 2 games. Now, Pittman had 2 catches last week. That's not going to happen frequently. But as I talked about on the show here yesterday on Monday, the Colts are doing everything right? And the offense is working. It's moving. They're getting first downs. They're utilizing it. It's working, right? So there's going to be games where some guys are up or down, and that's just the nature of it. It's not like the Falcons where, 80% of the touches are going to 2 guys. So where are we at with Josh Downs? He's had 3 games of 11 PPR points and 6 catches. And then he's had 3 other games where he hasn't hit 7 PPR points. So half the time he's been an abject failure. Half the time he's been a floor play. What do you see for him moving forward?
I'd rather be invested in Downs than Tucker, right? I feel like they're kind of the same player, but there's, I think, a relatively safer floor with Downs. He's your primary slot receiver. You mentioned it. This is a team that has a lot of options and a lot of weapons. And when you're in a team like that and they spread the ball around, there's a couple of those teams. We're going to talk about another one soon. But Downs is their primary slot receiver. He's been more involved lately. Mitchell was inactive this past weekend. I think, we've seen Downs a little bit more involved. I'm in. I like him. I think he's a good depth piece at the position. I think this role is here to stay. If he's getting anywhere between 4 and 7 targets, on a weekly basis, I'm okay with that because a lot of these are high percentage targets for him anyway. So I think he's going to continue to be a part of this passing game. I don't think he's going to be consistent when everyone's healthy, but I do think that he's going to give you more positive weeks than negative weeks here.
Marsal of fantasyguru.com. Now we've got the coaching staff of the Patriots saying our guys are too focused on not fumbling the football. I don't know what's going on with this team. Drake May's been fantastic, right? He has literally been fantastic. He's the breakout quarterback of the year right now, really. I mean, you could talk about Daniel Jones, but it's Drake May, in my opinion. He's been fantastic. This rushing game is a disaster. And they are not going away from Ramondre Stevenson. They're not. So let's talk not about do you start Stevenson or Henderson, because the answer is you don't want to start either one because it's just not good. If you have Stevenson or Henderson, what are you doing? Are you trying to trade the guy to the team that has the other player? Are you holding him if you got him? Are like what? Because again, you can't start either one of these guys with confidence. And I know so many people out there were like 100% in on TreVeyon Henderson. They spent way too much draft capital to get him. What do those people do now?
I'm still holding Henderson, Ray. Obviously, if you're in a league with, we have members with 4 bench spots or 5 bench spots, sure, you might not be able to afford to hold some of these players. But in most 12-team leagues, I'm still holding Henderson. He had fewer opportunities. They leaned on Stevenson, but he still looks like the better running back. Like you look at him and he's better on a per touch basis than Stevenson is, right? And I think it's only a matter of time before he does get those opportunities. Maybe we expected it this weekend because of the Gibson injury, and you know what? It fell short of expectations. I was expecting it. It did not happen. I played him at DFS. It did not work out for me. But I'm still optimistic about the long-term outlook for him. I still think he is the better running back in this backfield, and I think he's going to get those opportunities. We saw it last week. He kind of looked better than Stevenson when he was touching the ball. Stevenson didn't really do much in that second half. So I think it's only a matter of time. There's something that he's not getting in that playbook. There's something in the past, but I don't know what it is with the coaching staff that he has to prove. We talked about this last week on the Roster Coach live stream as well, and on the podcast. Like there's something he has to prove there for him to get more playing time. I think it's only a matter of time before he does.
Marsal, fantasyguru.com. We talk on this show a lot, and I've done it a lot the last couple of weeks in particular, about not streaming tight ends. You and I have talked about it. You've done your own talk. Don't do it. Everyone does it anyway, okay? If people did it, they got burned horribly with Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor had 5 catches for 65 yards in 2 straight games. He saw 19 targets in the 2 games. Looked like he was the number 2 receiving option behind Garrett Wilson. Last week or a couple of days ago, the Jets had one of the worst offensive games in football history. Do we just move on? I mean, Garrett Wilson's beat up and we're sounding like he's going to miss time. So to me, Mason Taylor, number 1 receiving target in this offense, like we got to continue to maintain the faith. It was just a one-off, right?
Well, it's Denver's defense is really good. Number one. And we got to give every team gets a mulligan. The Jets got a mulligan this weekend. That was terrible. That was one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a football team. Yeah. Period. Like I'm talking about, and I've seen I watch a lot of Dolphin games, so I see a lot of bad football. All right. That was one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life from a football team and a professional football team. Look, you mentioned it. Like he was targeted once or twice. He had one catch. Like, it was one target, one reception, 2 yards. Awful performance. It was a tough matchup. But there's a bright side. He played in over 90% of the snaps last week. All right. And for me, if you were rolling with Mason Taylor last week and you make the change, then guess what? You're going to miss the opportunity against Carolina this week when he's operating as number one wide receiver for New York. And that's the way I see it. Like, he's bunched up with a lot of the same guys that we've talked about, that we get asked about a lot, like in my opinion, like Evan Engram, and Joke. Like, they're all kind of bunched up in the same, like, cluster. And it's just a matter of pick your poison from there and just hold on to that, and that's it. Don't try to guess which one of that bunch is going to go off, because it's exactly what's going to happen. Like you said, like, you're going to guess wrong. You're going to have a bad week. You're going to drop the guy that did wrong the week before, add the one that did good the week before. Then it's going to be like a vicious cycle the entire season, and it's going to lead to a lot of mistakes. That's why I don't do it. If you have one guy from within that tier, within that bunch, stay in that bunch, stay in that tier, and ride the ups and downs, because at the end of the day, all of those tight ends are going to have ups and downs.
Armando, let's talk a little bit about the Broncos. I mean, Courtland Sutton is emblematic of what is going on with this offense. Courtland Sutton has 4 games out of 6 with a touchdown or 8 catches. He's had 2 games with 1 catch. 4 of the 6 games this season, Bo Nix has failed to throw for 210 yards. That's terrible. Okay, so this offense is not establishing itself consistently through the air. It's just how it's been. Evan Engram, a lot of excitement in some areas before the season began. The season begins. He's dealing with injury. He's not utilized. It's not been anything exciting. But the last 3 games, 4 catches, 5 catches, that actually makes him the most consistent pass catcher on this team the last 3 weeks. Evan Engram, you mentioned his name there. He's just in this group. Are you seeing signs of excitement? He's had the 4 and 5 catches. He's got 1 game of 40 yards. Like, he's not doing anything. But, is he going to get you 8 to 12 points the rest of the way? You feel confident in that?
I feel confident in the 8 to 12 points, moving forward with upside for more. My concern with him is he's not playing in over 50% of the snaps. Like, he's playing under 50% of the snaps this season. Like, that's what it is. The bright side, though, 17, 17, 23, that's his target share the last 3 games. If that kind of stays within that range, even if he's playing 50% or fewer of the snaps, I think he's going to get opportunities. He scored a couple of weeks ago, and, he's going to have some of those games where he does find the end zone. He is a good red zone target for them. He is a big red zone target for them. But the fact that he's not on the field that often, like, to me, that's not ideal. Like, we just talked about Mason Taylor. He had 1 target, but he was out there 90% of the snaps. Like, I'll take that. Like, especially, when the team is, like, concentrated on the target. So, look, Evan Engram falls in that same bunch for me, Ray. Someone who I think you can start every week. You just have to temper expectations and not expect consistency. You mentioned the inefficiencies in the passing game this year for the Denver Broncos. Mm-hmm. I think that'll get better as the season progresses, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee Evan Engram. They have a lot of options in this team. They have Franklin, Courtland Sutton. They have some good options here, Pat Bryant. So, if he's playing 50% or fewer of the snaps each and every week, I wouldn't anticipate more than a 15 to 20% target share consistently.
Chris D in the chat room has a question, and he's concerned about Dobbins, 3-way backfield, difficult to know who will get the workload. Let's talk some facts here, Chris. Number 1, this is a 3-person backfield, true, but the 3rd person never touches the ball. Whether it's Beatty or McLaughlin, they never touch the ball. Number 2, don't forget, as bad as the Jets were, we just talked about that, the Broncos were just as bad in week 6, right? They were awful offensively too. So if you look at the first 5 weeks of this season, remove the last game where it was just a mess. You look at the first 5 weeks of the season, J.K. Dobbins has been was one of the most consistent running backs in all of football, right? His PPR points the first 5 games, 14-8, 15-5, 15-3, 15-4, and 11.5. In the week he had 11.5, he ran for 100 yards. So, number 1, there are 3 guys active on game day. True. However, number 2, only 2 of the guys touch the ball. Number 3, it's always Dobbins as the lead back. It's always Dobbins leading the team in fantasy points. It's always Dobbins leading the team in points. And number 4, prior to the last game, he was, again, as consistent as any running back in football in terms of producing those PPR points. Not a bunch of spike weeks, not involved as a pass catcher. But again, Armando, 5 weeks in, he was averaging 15 points a game and almost exactly at 15 points in every game.
I don't understand what the expectations are for Dobbins based on what people drafted him. Like he's been a consistent RB2, right? Yep. You mentioned it. He's been. I'm gonna go by week. RB14, RB17, RB14, RB29. In that game, he scored 11.5 fantasy points. Still relatively decent if you know, as your RB2. Mm-hmm. RB19, and then last week RB41. Like you mentioned, fine. 1 week, okay, sure. He's averaging 16.7 opportunities per game. Like
huge.
I don't know. Like I'm okay with that. Like for me, if I have Dobbins, like he's my RB2 every week. I'm not looking at elsewhere. I'm not making another decision. Like if you're stacked, is different. But he's a solidified RB2 each and every week, Ray. In my opinion, so long as he's healthy. So yeah, I don't see what the issue is here with Dobbins. I would be very happy if I was a Dobbins owner based on where I got him and his return so far.
Lorenzo T is talking about losing a matchup this week, and we see a lot of this. And I try to tell people, look forward, don't look back. Don't do any good look back. You can look back and see if you made the right decision. He had 4 running backs, can only start 3 of them. Started DeAndre Swift, huge game last night. Started Kyren Williams, didn't have a huge game, but 90 yards of offense and scored a touchdown. Started Breece Hall. Breece Hall didn't do anything, but he had 22 carries. So Armando was just talking about opportunities. He had 22 opportunities. He sat Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle was in his flex. Okay, so he didn't start. I read it right. So he didn't start Swift. Now, again, when you're looking at Dowdle, Williams, Hall, and Swift, all 4 of these running backs were top 21 running backs in the rankings.
I would venture to say we're maybe top 18 if I remember. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But
Lorenzo, no matter who you sat, and I say this all the time, I did the video last week. If you're benching top 20 running backs, you're in a no-win situation. You're not. Set a depth chart, start the same 3 guys all the time. It was different because Dowdle, asserted himself. He's gone for 200 yards of offense in 2 straight games. But this is a really good group. So I wouldn't focus on, hey, I lost my matchup because I made the wrong call, quote unquote, the wrong call. I would focus on the fact you got 4 really good options here at the running back spot where other people don't have 2.
I agree 100%. I mean, there's not much you can do here. This is a good problem to have. And I think you said it best, right? Set a depth chart and just start the same guys each and every week. At least at your 1-2, right? Like if you're in between the flex, and I think that probably was the question for Lorenzo. I would assume that it was probably between Dowdle and Swift. And at that point, he made the right choice, right? I don't think you were questioning Hall or Williams over Swift this week. And most weeks, you're probably not making that question. I think the biggest question was Dowdle over, Swift. And they both had big games. Like they both had big games. The one that let you down here was Breece Hall in a very tough matchup, but he still had over 20 opportunities. So, this is one of those hindsight 2020 situations where it just didn't go your way.
And as Armando said, he was right. All 4 of those running backs were top 18. Swift was 18.
Yeah.
Last week. Robin T said there's a trade option here. So let's talk about Rico Dowdle first before we talk about the trade. My stated opinion here on the show has been that Dowdle has done so much you can't think he's going to get mothballed when Chuba Hubbard's back. I mean, he's just been too productive, Armando. Same time, Hubbard's been great since he joined the Panthers. They gave him a 4-year, $32 million contract last season in season, which is a huge deal for a running back. I kind of have said, look, Dowdle, Hubbard, they're probably going to try to rekindle Williams and Stewart, right? Let's give each guy 14, 15 touches, see how it goes. They don't throw the ball very well. How do you see the backfield, and how do you see Dowdle's role before we talk about the trade?
I agree 100% with you, Ray. I think that Dowdle has done too good of a job filling in for Hubbard in recent weeks to just completely write him off right after Hubbard returns. I expect they'll ease in Hubbard, right? This is probably the approach to take, to ease in Hubbard, and then we see some form of committee, whether it's 50-50, 60-40, 65-35. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities for both of these guys. So I see upwards of 8-9 opportunities for each of these running backs when they're both healthy moving forward. Once Hubbard is at full speed, I do now anticipate that they have that luxury of easing in Hubbard and not forcing and rushing him back in. But we also have to keep in mind, and I'm not downplaying Dalo. He has had 2 really good matchups. If you're thinking of selling him, this would be the peak time to do it. But I do expect 100% him to have a role moving forward. I don't think he's going to be primarily a handcuff. I think he's going to have some standalone value.
Okay, so let's answer the question now on the trade, because Robin's trying to do what we're talking about. Being offered Brian Thomas Jr. or Rome Odunze for Dowdle. We don't know the team. We don't know the context, so we can't really say, but it's a half-point PPR. Everything being equal, would you trade Dowdle to get back Rome Odunze or Brian Thomas Jr.?
I would do it for Rome Odunze. Yeah, that's what my lean would be. He's emerged as that guy for Chicago. Now we know Moore's a little bit dinged up there. Yeah, it's going to be Rome Odunze for me if I make this move.
By the way, we still are waiting an update on Moore. We don't know exactly what he was dealing with. He went to the hospital last night. Odunze lost his touchdown streak last night. He'd scored in each of the first 4 games. Brian Thomas, things look better. You're down in Florida. Things look better, but he also dropped the ball right in his hands and had the fake touchdown that didn't happen because of a penalty. Are we back to feeling confident in starting Thomas each week? Or, clearly I would go with Odunze over him as well. I agree with you there. But is Thomas top 25 receiver? Is he a wide receiver 3? Is he getting better? Where are you at with him?
I have him as a wide receiver 2/wide receiver 3, really depending on the matchup. I don't fully trust. I'm gonna play him if I have him, and I would have been playing him all season if you have him. But I don't fully feel confident that he's going to produce that weekly safe floor that we were expecting from him this season. By the way, Odunze almost had one. By the way, it got called back. I was like, oh, it got called back. It would have been. I wanted that streak to continue because I was expecting a huge game from him. But yeah, I hated watching seeing them take that one back from him.
Yeah, the officials are involved in a lot of these games, for right or wrong. I don't know. Jeff Mann's made a big deal about the Patriots game and
the Stephon Diggs catch.
The Demario Douglas touchdown that got called. The 2 penalties on Diggs weren't penalties. Mm-hmm. Sorry, they weren't. But anyway, Armando Marsal of FantasyGuru.com joins us every Tuesday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. We go about a half hour. We answer your comments and questions. We try to provide some information. Armando will have articles coming out at FG. He'll be in the Discord room. Are you on the live stream tonight, Armando, talking some football?
Yeah, I'll be on with Tyler Beaker and Russell Clay. We'll be talking football 7 p.m. Eastern there, and I'll be in and out of Discord all day. I usually spend a lot of my day in Discord on Tuesdays. It's a roster management day, so I know it's an important day out there for everyone.
How's the basketball coming, by the way, at FantasyGuru.com?
There's some content up on the site already. We got some good plans for the season. Going to have a lot of DFS content. Of course, we do daily NBA articles. We're in Discord as well. Fancy has his podcast that that you can find everywhere. You can find all of these podcasts as well. The Basketball Diaries there, so make sure you're checking that out. And we're going to have cheat sheets. Obviously, we're going to have Discord conversations and things like that. So it's a great team and great content that we have there for NBA. So strongly recommend everyone checking it out.
Yeah, click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page to find Justin's show, Jeff's show, the Race Guru Thunder Hour, the Racing Show, Armando's show, this show. Click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page and click the subscribe tab in the top right corner to get signed up for any sport, any of the products. Send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. As always, Armando, thank you. We appreciate you coming on. Oh, by the way, Armando_Marsal on Twitter X if you're looking for him there as well. But like he said, he's always in Discord giving answers. So hit him up there and he'd be happy to help you out. Thanks for your time, Armando. We appreciate it as always. And we will see you 7 days from now on Tuesday next week at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much for having me on.
You got it. For Armando, I'm Ray. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily powered by FantasyGuru.com. Don't forget to listen to Elite Sports on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio from 2 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, Eastern Time, by the way. I won't be here tomorrow because I'll be with Jeff from 2 to 5 Eastern, but I'll be back Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow is Justin Fensterman and Rich Miletto here on the show. For Armando, I'm Ray. It's been Fantasy Sports Daily powered by FG.